What's the timetable call for?
Right now, this country needs to produce 6.5 million gallons. But by 2022, we need to be making 16 billion gallons a year. So that's a pretty robust rate of growth. If that isn't a game-changing development, I don't know what is. The company that makes these crucial enzymes is Dyadic International, symbol DYAI, trades over the counter. It's already made my readers a ton of money, and I expect it will make them plenty more going forward. Upping production from 6.5 million gallons to 16 billion gallons is a 250,000% increase, a compound annual growth rate of nearly 100%. So I just have to ask you, what would your portfolio look like if you doubled it every year for 5 years? That would clearly put you on the fast track, and that's exactly the sort of explosive return that I'm targeting in Fast Track Millionaire.
Well, how do you play this trend? You said only a handful of companies know how to make cellulosic ethanol. Is Dyadic your favorite?
Yes, Dyadic is a vendor, not a partner. It doesn't have to risk its own capital to build the biofuel refineries. It only has to ship its enzymes to the plants others build. Now, trying to be a partner was a mistake some of its competitors have made, and those companies are never going to be able to find the money to do that. But Dyadic has wisely sidestepped this. It keeps the focus where its expertise is. Another thing I like about Dyadic is that it signs non-exclusive deals. It will sell to anyone who will pay it a royalty, so it doesn't artificially limit its business. Lastly, Dyadic special fungus can be used to make lots of other enzymes. It already has a product that assists in the production of wine and beer, and I expect more industrial deals in the animal feed and pharmaceutical industries.
How has this company done so far?
I first told my readers to buy this stock last July when the shares were trading at 70 cents. I bought a bunch myself too, and since then they're up around 300%. So we basically tripled our money already, and we're looking for a lot more. Once Dyadic shares hit the NASDAQ, I think they're going to take off even more spectacularly than they have already, because more people and more institutions will consider them. A lot of those players can't buy stocks over the counter.
So I understand there are 2 other opportunities that you're excited about. Will you share these with our viewers?
Well, I can share some fascinating information about them to start off with, and readers will be able to get the full write-up and all the details in Fast Track Millionaire. Now, the first is just an incredible story, and if I didn't know it were true, I wouldn't believe it myself. And like iCAD, it has a feel-good component. It's another investment that lets you profit while helping to solve a serious humanitarian problem. I've discovered a small company that could defuse a global crisis that goes overlooked by most of us.
Where are you going with this?
Bob, the crisis I'm talking about is drinking water. If you think oil is important, think about water. 1 billion people don't have adequate supplies, and the problem is only going to get worse. The World Bank says 3 billion people, a sizable chunk of the humanity living on this rock, will be in areas with severe water shortages in the next 25 years. Now, the problem isn't limited to arid deserts or banana republics on the far side of the world. Water problems are a lot closer to home than you may realize. California, to name one example, is in the 3rd year of a major drought. It's the worst western U.S. drought in 500 years by some estimates. And this affects all of us. California is the source of 1/3 of all the food grown in the United States. China is facing major water shortages in half its cities. Jordan, Israel, and Saudi Arabia already import 90% of their fresh water.
So what's the answer? Make it rain?
Well, the answer, ironically, is all around us. It's seawater. Seawater will kill you if you drink enough of it, but seawater is fine if you first remove the salts. Any water shortage can be solved tomorrow with a process called reverse osmosis. All you have to do is shoot water at high pressure through a series of special filters to remove the salt. The only problem is that it's pricey. Desalination requires huge amounts of energy, and that's why relatively few gallons of water are desalinated every year. I mean, less than 0.25% of global demand. So thank God for the company I found. It has discovered a cheap way out. It's invented an innovative device that helps deliver clean water cheaper and faster than any other method we've seen in the past. In fact, their creation has lowered the cost of desalination to the point that it's even cheaper in some cases than municipal water. The device captures the energy from that high pressure stream and it recycles it so as to decrease the pump workload. And this incredible device operates at up to 98% efficiency, just 2 points away from perpetual motion.
Not many machines come close to that level of efficiency.
Nope. The engine in the Toyota Prius was supposed to be a major breakthrough, and it's only 37% efficient. This incredible level of efficiency reduces the plant's overall energy bill by up to 60% according to the firm's filing with the SEC. Build a desalination plant without this device and your power bill might be $10 million a year. But if you install this device, your electricity costs would drop to $4 million. So the decision's a no-brainer. This device is already helping provide drinking water for 25 million people in more than 20 countries. The firm's customers are saving hundreds of millions of dollars a year in energy costs.
What companies control this device?
Here's the kicker. This device is controlled by one company. The company enjoys gross margins of over 60%. It has no debt, and revenues are skyrocketing. The best part is that this stock is dirt cheap to own right now. In fact, you can get a share for less than the price of a six-pack of bottled water. By my calculations, you could make more than 250% in a relatively short period of time. Hold it longer and you're sitting on potentially astronomical gains. Desalination is a global necessity. Economies and lives depend on it. Right now, there are 14,000 desalination plants around the world. This is a huge revenue opportunity as those plants are retrofitted to operate more efficiently. But the real growth will come from new plants coming online. In the next 7 years, the number of desalination plants is expected to quadruple. Now, I've prepared a critical report for investors to review that documents this incredible device and the company behind it. It's called Liquid Millions, and I'll be sending a free copy as a welcome gift to Fast Track Millionaire subscribers.
Well, that does sound like a real opportunity. What else do you have for us?
Finally, I want to tell you about a pioneering company that is literally turning trash into treasure. It's a small mining outfit that has found a way to supply nuclear power plants with uranium using a waste product that's stacking up all over the world that no one else wants. This is not only one of the most interesting stories I've heard in a while, it's also one of the most promising investments. I think this company is going to make a killing.
What's the reason for that?
If I showed you a mountain of sand and told you it contained 50 grains of gold for every million grains of sand, you'd probably have about 3 questions. How much sand is there? How do I get the gold out? And how much will it cost me? So let's say we have an effective method of extracting that gold. Let's say we have 2.7 billion tons of sand to sift through. And an analysis proves that the gold can be sold for more than it costs to extract it. Now take a look at the math. 50 parts per million is 0.005%. So 2.7 billion tons, or 5.4 trillion pounds of sand, would contain 270 million pounds of gold. Now, even if you sold that metal at just a tiny profit margin, that's still a king's ransom.
After hearing all of that, my only question would be, how do we get started?
Well, I'd be right there with you, Bob. Everything in that example is true except for the words gold and sand. What I'm really talking about is extracting uranium from coal ash. Now, I didn't know this myself, but coal actually contains trace amounts of uranium, about 50 parts per million. The uranium stays in the ash after the coal is burned, and that 2.7 billion tons of coal ash really does exist. It's in China. Of course, that's hardly the only place in the world that has coal ash. South Africa and Eastern Europe also have huge deposits, and the world's power plants produce 700 million new tons of coal ash every year. The leading company in the quest to turn this waste into uranium is a tiny Canadian outfit. It trades on the Toronto Stock Exchange and on the pink sheets here in the US for about 10 cents a share.